Welcome. This is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is my co-host Jay, the voice of rage. I know you guys will be hopping on here in the next couple of minutes, and so we will kind of hold on and pause and let you log in here before we really get going. But while we are waiting, there's 9 of you now in there watching. Welcome. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Last week we had at one point I think 31 people in the chat and only like 12 or 13 likes on the video at that given time. So if you would hit that like and subscribe, we'd appreciate that. Trying to hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. And we're going to get the message board up here in just a moment. Remember to visit the Scarlet and Rage message board. It is free. It is busy, and there are all kinds of topics for you to dive into should you, be interested in that. Sports topics, political topics, religious topics, you name it. There's all kinds of things. And here it is, pulling it up right now. The Scarlet and Rage. All you got to do is go join the conversation. It is free. All right. Not a good for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Certainly, Indiana deserves a lot of credit for the way that they played. They played inspired, but the Buckeyes, there was a lot to be desired with that performance. And so we're going to talk about all of that today. We're going to talk about what this means for the season moving forward, what this means for the bracket and the potential national championship run that we're about to embark on. And just all the implications from the disaster that we saw in Indianapolis last evening. I am going to go ahead and put a brief disclaimer out there. I am not doom and gloom on this team. I'm not even doom and gloom on this game, but that was a horrible performance by the Buckeyes. It was not a good job by the Ohio State coaching staff in the way that they game planned it. And particularly on offense, because the bottom lining, when you hold a team to 13 points, you should win a game in 2025 college football. And they could not score 14 points against this good Indiana defense, but they made them a lot better with the way that they approached and the way that they attacked. Already gotten some discussion on that in the chat. Rage, those are my initial thoughts. How are you, my friend? And hopefully you're not too low after the defeat last night.
I try not to be too low about these things. And I know what I said about this game in the previous show and everything, but I don't know, man. I made that comment a few weeks ago, how I didn't really like where the season was going. I know we had a very good performance against Michigan, but I just want to preface this show. Quick analogy, kind of. So my favorite show on television, Michael, is a show called The Boys. And its final trailer actually got released yesterday, and I watched it briefly. It was actually really well done. Really depicts like an apocalyptic world ruled by Homelander. Mm-hmm. And one of the lines that Homelander says in that trailer is, "A reckoning is coming." Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what this episode needs to be. And Ryan Day needs to understand he has really failed in some of with his play calling, offensively, defensively. I know what I said about this game. Let me just preface. I know what I said about this game, that it really didn't matter. But the problem is Ohio State, I feel like, treated this game more like it did matter. And their performance on the field kind of led me to think like, okay, in big moments, in big games, this is the product we are going to see in big moments, in big games. And if that's the case, that's where it gets really scary, Michael. I mean, like, we now have real evidence of Ohio State really failing in like a big game and a big moment this season. We don't have Chip Kelly to bail us out anymore.
No.
So, we have the 2023 offensive staff essentially, and we know how 2023 ended. So that's where it gets really, really, really scary for me. And I don't really know how to handle it. I don't really know how to handle this. But, I guess we can start with the offense. If you want to add anything more, I'm like borderline freaking out. I have not been in a good mood in the last 24 hours. It has been a disaster.
Yeah. It seems like Ryan Day, it was said in the chat, this was eerily similar to the Michigan game last year. And I just don't know why after that you would go out with the same type of mentality. And what that mentality essentially is basically, if things went well in Ryan Day's game plan, they would win a very close game. That's what he planned on doing. The way he attacked this Indiana defense, he planned on keeping the game close like an Iowa or somebody would do. We've got to keep the game close, and then, just edge them out or whatever. Like if things go well for us, why are we doing that? I mean, why is that the approach on a fast track in Indy? Why was it the approach last year against Michigan? I don't know. But it might make a little more sense, in late December outside or late November outside, but on a fast track inside in Indianapolis, what is he doing? And, it's been said in the chat, I have harped on it some throughout the season, and I'm going to harp on it again. Why does Ryan Day struggle to play to the way that he recruits the offense? Why is he wanting 2 and 3 tight ends all the time? I don't know if to blame Ryan Day or to blame Brian Hartline. It's a consistent theme when Brian Hartline is the offensive coordinator. He loves these tight ends, and I don't get it. If Brandon Ennis is that bad that you always have to have, multiple tight ends in the game, then find another slot receiver and attack the ball, downfield, in space, on the edges, right where this team is built to play. At one point, there was a drive in the second half, and it was 2nd and 6, and we line up in a freaking power I. I'm not kidding you. A Jim Tressel 2002 power I. And no, we didn't do anything creative off of it. We literally ran an ISO with the fullback, and it got stuffed.
The offense, Michael, my mood for this game, it started kind of laissez-faire. But like I said, I kind of picked up on the energy from the players and the coaching staff that they all wanted to win. So my anxiety started to kind of kick in midway through the first quarter, right when I started to see Indiana get pressure on us pretty easily. And you're right, Michael. Hartline, and again, I don't know who to blame here, but Hartline does suck as an offensive coordinator. We saw this in 2023, and a lot of times this season too. Michael, he's a great recruiter, but Ohio State recruits itself at wide receiver. Let's not forget that Zach Smith was a pretty dang good recruiter.
Yep.
In Urban Meyer's offense at the wide receiver position. And then Ryan Day runs a pass-happy offense in 2018, and that attracts a lot of wide receivers. It becomes a much better place to attract wide receivers. It makes Brian Hartline's job a lot easier. So, I'm not
even one of Ryan Day's early, stars that started the whole wide receiver youth thing, and Chris Olave was actually brought to Ohio State courtesy of Zach Smith, even though, Hartline and Day would have had more to do with, his development. Zach Smith was the one that recruited him and brought him there. So yeah, Zach Smith got a lot of good receivers in an offense much less conducive to wide receivers. So as long as he hires a good wide receiver coach, there shouldn't be any issues there.
There's an argument to be made that Zach Smith is a better recruiter than Brian Hartline.
Well, yeah, considering what he had to sell.
Exactly. And Michael, you're right. Like, what the fuck is this play calling, man? Why are they going power in the red zone when we should be spreading them out and, using our wide receivers, man? Like, use our wide receivers. Maybe not even Brandon Ennis. It's like they didn't even want to throw him the ball. And it's like, God dang, Carnell Tate had 3 or 4 catches on the game. Jeremiah Smith had a lot of yards, but remember, 50 of those yards came on like a Hail Mary pass to end the game. So he was really under 100 yards for this game.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is our offense just going into our fucking it always is like this under Ryan Day, man. If our offensive line is like struggling in any way, they go into a shell and they go into their safe space because they don't know how to call an offense against a team that's more aggressive. It would have been a simple remedy, Michael. Throw the fucking ball out of shotgun without play action. Stop running fucking slow play action under center. If your offensive line is struggling, you're going to fucking kill your quarterback's confidence and kill the fucking offensive line's confidence.
Yeah.
Get in fucking shotgun. Give Julian Sayin time to survey the field. Give the offensive line more time to block Indiana. And, Indiana may not blitz as much. Again, they still are going to get pressure, but it's going to give Sayin, number one, more options, and number two, more time to throw. It's simple, man. But Ryan Day just cannot fucking figure this out. He can't fucking figure it out, man. We are not a very good run team. We are not. We ran well against Michigan last week because we completed a few deep balls on them and they had to respect it. We completed one deep pass yesterday and we didn't really try again. We went slow rollouts. Stop going with the slow fucking rollouts. It doesn't fucking work. Fuck.
Yeah. We were not, we were not attacking the zone with any intent to really strike. We were, it was just check downs. We were taking check downs. I didn't see the whole field, so I know that there certainly was a few times that Julian Sayin did very nice checkdowns because he looked at one, he looked at two, and both were covered, and he had to go back to that checkdown. So some of it, could have been, hats off to Indiana's defense. But here's the thing, Jay. They did start figuring out some recipe for success in the second half by getting Sayin out of the pocket some, getting him moving, and they were able to move the ball. And if you go down and move the ball the way they did and call a better red zone, game, and you end up with one touchdown and one field goal, then we win this game 20-13 and nobody cares. They played good enough to win the game. They didn't execute in the times when it mattered. The red zone offensive play calling was atrocious. They've got to go back to the drawing board, and they've got to figure out whether it's Miami or whether it's Texas A&M, how you're going to attack things in the red zone, because that can be the difference, as we saw, of winning and losing games. Even if you do the easy thing and kick 2 chip shots, you should win the game 16-13. But we all know, even if you would have kicked 2, we definitely wouldn't have won because Fielding misses a 27-yarder. Yeah.
It was a chip shot.
Yeah.
So, Michael, Julian Sayin has been mentioned some in this chat and once by you, and we do have to go there. Again, Julian Sayin played great last week, but the situation was really great for him. He had great time to throw. He had both receivers healthy. But in this game, Julian Sayin looked every bit the game manager that I've suspected he was all season last night. Yes, the play calling was awful, and it didn't help him. But the guy is just not a playmaker when the chips are down and the pressure is high. It showed some versus UCLA when both wide receivers were down, and also against Rutgers. And Rutgers has a god-awful defense. He struggles against high-pressure teams, and he doesn't make really anything happen. His scrambles, by the way, if you pay attention, his scrambles on the season are only against 4-man rushes, which, to be honest, most quarterbacks in America at every level can do. A Heisman level player, Michael, makes something happen, and he never did. He didn't see the field very well. Yeah, there were some receivers open, and the game plan was terrible, but he didn't find these receivers. He's too small. He is not a very good athlete. Heck, I would say he is a negative athlete. He needs a clean pocket to succeed. He can't even execute a simple QB sneak, Michael. He falls down. He is just not a very good athlete. He is a very overrated player, and I've said it all year. He is a game manager. And again, there is nothing wrong with that. As long as you have great offensive line play, we don't, and great offensive and great wide receivers, we have that, and very good running backs. No, we don't have that. We have solid backs, but I would not say that they're very good or even elite. So he really has a lot going against him. And again, this is not surprising to me, but what I really find interesting about all this, Michael, is the Wolves are starting to come out for Julian Sayin on like 11 Warriors and Bucknuts and, fake, stupid fucking websites like that. And they're starting to notice like the holes in his game. And I'm like, they've been there all fucking season if you would watch him close enough. Fuck, man. And I'm looked at as the bad guy by pointing this out.
Well, no, he's not a perfect quarterback. And if he ran a 4.7 40 with quick feet, he would be darn near a perfect college quarterback. If he was able to get out and take advantage of the line breaking down, that would be a huge attribute. Obviously, he doesn't have it. That being said, he played well enough to win the game against the number now 1 team in the country. Last night, the number 2 team in the country. I think very legitimately, Indiana is a top 4 team. Dr. Detroit has said IU is very legit, well-disciplined, both sides of the ball. Somewhere else he said, it's hard for me to believe they are, but they are. They played fast. They played incredibly hard, and they wanted it more than the Ohio State Buckeyes last night. The Buckeyes really thought that they could just play hard, and they would win, that it would all shake out in their favor and it would be good. And Indiana played with their hair on fire. Indiana played Urban Meyer-esque, angry, on fire, something to settle type of intensity. And we did not bring that. I hope that it was a wake-up call to this Buckeye team, that they are not invincible, that they need to quit reading their press, that the 72nd best roster in the country on paper, obviously you can throw that out the window with the way it's all come together. And Kurt has found the pieces. Signetti has found the pieces. But still, you've got a left tackle in Mahowski. He couldn't get on the field at Ohio State. He's Indiana's starting left tackle. There is more talent on this Ohio State team. It's not even close, but that talent gap is greatly reduced by just the development that these players have had. I guess the right players in the right places for the right scheme. And as Urban Meyer said, the best coaching job in college football history to make Indiana the number 1 team in the land 2 years after getting in Bloomington.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take away from Indiana. I actually like Kirk Signetti. Honestly, I know a lot of people don't like him, but a lot of people just, it's kind of that whole culture of hating the alpha male. And that's kind of why our country is in some certain spots, because the alpha males are just kind of ceasing to exist with, everything going on. But, Kirk Signetti is an alpha male. I don't know that Ryan Day is, man. Ryan Day, he had a great playoff last year, and I'll get to my end thoughts on that. But Ryan Day is questionable, man. Last night with the whole deer in the headlights look, it was a real bad look for him. Very, very, very bad look. But I will say this. Yeah, Indiana, Michael, do you really look at that team and say, like, they can go on the field and beat Georgia? Honestly, do you really believe that?
After watching Georgia against Alabama and watching Georgia against Georgia Tech, I absolutely think they could. I would not make them a favorite, against Georgia, but I would make them a favorite against most of the rest of the field. Yeah. So, I mean, I think they're very good. I think they're in the top four. Maybe it's third, maybe it's fourth, but I think they're in the top four.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that like a team, well, I think Georgia is better than them. I think possibly Texas Tech is better than them. And I think Oregon, if they played them again, will beat them. But, that's, on a neutral field. Well, they did beat them at Oregon, but I guess Oregon was down some people in that game.
Indiana has potentially a tough road because there's two big boys in this field that want a rematch against them. And, we'll see if either of those teams get a rematch, but it is very hard to beat a good team twice because your game plan's no longer a surprise. You know what they're wanting to do. And unless you cook up something totally different and totally unique in the short period of time between you play, it's going to be an advantage to the team that lost.
Hey, man, so I was just browsing my Facebook, and I wasn't planning on saying this, but, Facebook is, I don't know, like, I don't know what their AI algorithm is anymore. Read our minds, but USF football popped up as like a potential follow. And 6 hours ago, Brian Hartline is acting all giddy and happy on a plane to go down to South Florida, like, oh, I'll see you guys soon. And, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, is this really the time for this, Brian, to be on South Florida's social media after we just lost a big game and looked like the worst ever offensively all season? Just really not very good tact there.
Well, Brian Hartline clearly doesn't care. I mean, Brian Hartline clearly is ready for his next stop. He's ready to get out of Columbus for whatever reason. Who knows what the dynamics are there? I'm not, going to act like I know, or I do have some suspicions. But Brian Hartline's ready to go. And so I really wish there was another option at offensive coordinator. Just like I said it last week, that when Lane Kiffin took the FAU job, Sark was there as an analyst. Now, the problem is we don't have anybody like Sark as an analyst. I threw out Chip Kelly, bringing him in and sticking him there, seeing if you could work something out. But Saban said, go to your next job. You're checked out. You're ready to do that. You're not worried about winning a national championship. Sark's going to come in and call the plays. And I wish we had some go-to like that, because it's time for Brian Hartline to go ahead and hit it to Tampa.
I agree. Two things. Number one, again, we didn't address this because there's so much to go over. We see your chats. This is going to be a loaded show. If you do super chat us, we are forced to acknowledge your chat and we will read it off. But this is a really loaded schedule today. We have a lot to go over. But if you do super chat us, we will get to your comment. That is a promise. But Michael, speaking of our message board, though, there is a thread today that was created that was very interesting about Brian Hartline, and it is pure speculation. But this guy he's like us. He is a deep thinker. And what he said was, and the question is Brian Hartline leaving Ohio State because Ryan Day is designing the game plans and controlling the play calling? Because in our game thread, yesterday's game, this person said yesterday's game really felt like vintage Ryan Day big game play calling during his previous losses to top 5 competition.
Yeah.
Make you wonder, right?
It did. I mean, it did. And so we don't know how much leeway Brian Hartline has or does not have. They're never going to divulge that, but it definitely looked a lot like, some Ryan Day games. But that being said, I think the problem always with Brian Hartline was that Ryan Day didn't fully trust him to give him the reins and let him go. I think that's always been the issue with Brian Hartline, and that's why I have always been in favor of a proven, well-known offensive coordinator that Ryan Day is willing to say, here, do your thing. Of course, he may give some suggestions at times. Of course, as a head coach, he could even do an override at times if he really feels strongly about a particular thing that he sees. But for the most part, give the guy the reins and let him go. And I'm not confident that that's ever happened with Brian Hartline. The Buckeye beat never seems overly confident that that's definitively happened with Brian Hartline. And now Brian Hartline, not even 1 year into his second tenure as OC at Ohio State, is taking off, leaving, and going to new pastures.
Yeah. I don't know what to think, but it's possible Brian Hartline is just fed up with Ryan Day and his authoritarian regime. Moving on, Michael, Bo Jackson, he's got to be better at not getting tripped up easily, man. Like, he should have busted a few big runs in this game, and he just got caught up like by the shoestrings and fell down. He goes down too easily. He's not a power back. Why was CJ Donaldson not used on 3rd and 1 2 times? Like what? CJ Donaldson is not a good running back, but he is a great power back on short yardage situations. He has actually done very well in those situations. Bo Jackson has not. Why are we in shotgun running Bo Jackson on short yardage situations? Where in the fuck is the power there? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why are we going play action rollout, throwback to a tight end? Why are we rolling Julian Sayin to his non-dominant side? I don't know. But again, Bo Jackson, solid player, but nothing more than that. Hell, I'm pretty sure if he doesn't get tripped up like at like the 8 or like the 12-yard line, he walks into the end zone, but he fell down. Like, he picked up the first down, but didn't score a touchdown on one of those runs. Again, I haven't gone back and watched the game. I've been too pissed off, too caught up on like just reading and not moderating. That's a bad word, but just, discussing this with, our community on our message board, man. But yeah, Bo Jackson, just not overly impressive. We don't have the backs that we had last year to bail out the offense with, big time runs. Like, Bo Jackson's not it. Isaiah West is not it. CJ Donaldson, great power back, but he's not going to bust a long run for you. So running backs disappointed. I don't know what else you want to add there.
Yeah. Just want to address this real quick. Hartline's going to be Ohio State's head coach one day. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
I don't know, man. He's got to do well.
All we really know about Brian Hartline is that he's a great recruiter of wide receivers, and that obviously he's good, I guess, at developing that talent and getting them, running routes and all those kind of things. He never was great at getting them to block. That didn't really happen until Chip Kelly came in 2024, and so
right.
He's not been a great OC. So does that mean he can't be a great head coach? No, it doesn't mean that you don't have to be a great offensive or defensive coordinator to be a great head coach. I mean, Urban Meyer, Dabo Sweeney, there's been some others, but I don't know. I think the jury's really out on him, and he's got a tough job in South Florida with the things that have transpired in that program. So we'll see how that plays out. But as far as the running game, yeah, Bo Jackson did. There was a few that he it seems like he was right there, and maybe an elite back breaks those. Bo hasn't really showed that he's an elite back. He's a good back. He had 83 yards on 17 carries. But yeah, it just Jay, the run game. How many times do we have to say it? When does it look the best? When has the run game looked like, wow, it's really working and it's really clicking? What is the common denominator?
We're throwing to set up the run.
Yeah. I mean, this is what Ryan Day has recruited. This has been his offense for years. He hasn't changed the way he is recruited. He has tried to get better on the there's areas he's tried to improve, like the defensive line, and he has recruited better in this past cycle on that. However, his team is still designed basically the way they always have been, just with better defense. So why have we gone so conservative, and why have we taxed that defense so much when this offense still has the potential to move the ball and to be explosive at times. And we almost play call the explosiveness out of it in certain games, with this game being one of those.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, do me a favor and just check your text real quick. I shot you over something. One thing I want to just recap with the offense, though. They don't do well against teams that are heavy pressure that run 1 and 0 coverage. I kind of picked up on that in the UCLA and Rutgers games, but even with our great wide receivers, the offensive line doesn't block well enough, and Julian Sayin isn't very mobile. And I kind of have a hot take, but I've kind of mentioned this before, but Jeremiah Smith does not like to be pressed. He doesn't like it. If D'Angelo Pons, his former high school teammate, knows him better than anyone else, all 5'9", 175 pounds, was up in Jeremiah's grill all night, making life hell for him, not making it easy. Yeah, I mean, Jeremiah Smith still makes some great catches, but if you're 6'3", 20 pounds, you should be able to shed a 5'9" corner pretty easily. It kind of lends credence to that thought that Jeremiah Smith is really not a hard-nosed player. Great athlete, built like Colossus, but he's not a physical player. He's built physically, but mentally he is not a physical player. And yesterday kind of, provided more evidence to that. If you press him and really make life hell for him and don't give him a free release, he doesn't like that, and he doesn't really do nearly as well against that. So with that being said, do you have anything else to say about the offense before we move to the defense?
No, let's go on.
So, Michael, I know that you and I are on opposite sides of the fence here, but Matt Patricia did not impress me at all last night. Yes, I know they only gave up 13 points and around 320 yards of offense, but they gave up way too many key third downs and let Indiana rush on the ground for too many yards. And he just failed in the key downs. He failed. Matt Patricia, I've said it all year, he plays too soft of a scheme. He needs to stop calling this defense like a bitch, because the defense is kind of called like a bitch defense. Where is our heavy blitzing, Michael, like Indiana was doing on first and second down? I thought he would dial it up against better teams, but he's reminding me kind of Jim Haycock. He has 2 linebackers, by the way, spying on 3rd and 8. Biggest play of the game. Got to get Indiana off the field. He is dropping them into coverage. Why? Blitz 5 or 6. Make Mendoza get rid of the ball quicker. Such soft fucking bullshit, man. Too many guys dropping into the flats with no roll and then going 0 or 1 coverage everywhere else. What kind of bullshit coverage is that? Patricia was a major disappointment last night, Michael, a major disappointment. And I just don't like his scheme. I know you do, but his scheme is not what I would like at Ohio State. And I'll go more into that in a minute.
Well, I think I'm just bottom line in it. And, they gave up about 340 yards and 13 points. So, I mean, it would have been nice if they would have, been able to, it would have been nice if we could have won the game 10-6, they not give up that last touchdown. But at the end of the day, we still would be sitting here going, well, there's some problems. This wasn't an acceptable offensive performance. And so, the defense played well enough to win a top 5 matchup, when you hold to 13 points. The offense did not. I mean, certainly, yeah, I think there's things that Patricia could have done differently, especially on that last play. You've got Jermaine Matthews out there on an island anyway. He got beat. But you're right. I think that would have been a good time to send pressure and see if you could have sped the play up and maybe, force Mendoza to, maybe throw it awry. But instead, he threw pretty much a perfect pass, and he had a big opening because Matthews got beat pretty easily, off of the line. By the way, Mendoza, what a strange guy. Did you see?
Yeah, I loved it. Honestly, he is a strange guy, but I love it. Honestly, if there's one thing that actually brought a smile into my face, it was Fernando Mendoza in his post-game interview. I know a lot of people are off put by that, but the guy is a happy guy. He loves football. I think he seems like the kind of guy who kind of takes it from his girlfriend rather than gives it to her. But, that's for another story of personal life stuff. But again, yeah. I respect him. Cool. I loved his energy afterwards.
No, I mean, I don't have anything against the guy. It was just a straight, he had a strange type of way about him. The way he yelled, he screamed kind of as he was talking. And then
does he sound like a WWE character?
Yeah.
I swear he comes off like that.
Like, he would go into like this real intense, almost like yelling. And then he would back off and he would do this big smile like every time, And so I was after hearing him, because they gave him the microphone continually after the game and just let him go. I was like, wow, this is kind of an odd guy here.
He's like, I'm so happy. Oh, glory to God. Indiana won the Big Ten championship. This is so great. Ah!
Yeah.
It was actually, if there's one thing that brought a smile to my face, it was that. I mean, it is what it is. Michael, hot take. And you kind of already mentioned this, but we have to go there. Do we have only one good corner on our roster?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, again, our defense played good. They didn't play perfect. They didn't play amazing, but they played good. I mean, they did the job, and they shouldn't have been in that position. But yeah, I mean, our corners did get picked on at times a little bit.
Well, as we all know, Lorenzo Styles Jr., I've said it time and time and again, he is a fucking scrub. Do we have anyone else? I guess not. I guess the answer is no. We really don't have anyone else, because what did they do? They take him out of the game late in the game, and they pick on Jermaine Matthews in the slot, who gave up 2 big throws. Like, Jermaine Matthews was supposed to be our guy. He's getting beat. And it kind of reminded me of our Illinois performance. And I'm like, well, a team really hasn't challenged us down the field all year. So it's like, is our defense really that good? They don't pressure the quarterback with the defensive line at all. They don't. They're not a heavy blitzing team. They are a great tackling team, and they have the dudes, and they're extremely fast. Like, it's between us and Georgia with the 2 fastest defenses in college, but Georgia, calls their defense like an SEC defense, and we call our defense like we're Iowa. So big difference there. And again, I don't know, like, for Jermaine Matthews to get beat the way he did, I didn't see Caleb Downs making any plays, by the way. I mean, he made some tackles, but where was he with an impact play? Lorenzo Styles is terrible. Devin Sanchez, he didn't get picked on. Good for him. Again, I feel like our only good corner we can trust, strangely enough, is Davison Igbinosun, Michael. He's the only one who stays in phase with these guys, and as long as he's not called for pass interference, he's always there to make a play on the ball. He just has to stop grabbing the other guy, because he is always in phase. Styles and Matthews, they are not in phase.
Yeah. I mean, there's always things to pick on to improve. I think that our defense is fine to win a national championship. I really do. I think our defense is fine to win a national championship.
Do you really think that we would have stopped? Or let me ask you something. If Jaden Phelan doesn't miss that kick, do we stop Indiana on the next drive? If it's 13-all, do you actually believe we are stopping Indiana from getting into field goal range?
That's probably 50-50. I mean, I didn't feel good about
that's concerning. That means we don't have a great defense.
I didn't feel
it should be immediate yes if they're great.
I didn't feel I didn't like the way that was, that whole drive was handled. Towards the end of the game, he was driving so slow. I mean, he was taking his time, no urgency, no wanting to get the ball down the field. If you're wanting to score right there, you're wanting to score with hopefully 4.5 minutes or so left, so that even if they do march down and score, you've got hopefully a fair shot of time on the clock to see if you can go down and win it at the end. And it was just planned out poorly. Not a good in-game strategy there by Ryan Day and company.
No, it wasn't. Couple more players I want to highlight. Arvell Reese, one fucking tackle last night, Michael. What exactly has this man done in the last month? He has been the invisible man. I don't know. I think he's got to be falling down draft boards, man, because Matt Patricia is not using him correctly. He's not putting up any stats. He is not up for the butt kiss anymore. I don't think he's even close to getting it. And it's sad. He's got all the physical attributes, but he just doesn't have the stats to back it up. And then another thing, why do we treat Caden fucking Curry like he is a 3-4 outside linebacker? He does not have near the athleticism to be dropping into coverage, and he is a total fish out there. What the fuck is he doing? I believe he was dropping into coverage on that big time third down throw. I could be wrong, but even if he wasn't, he was in the game a few times, and one time is too many. That is just a poor use of your players. He is your best pass rusher. He was the only one creating pressure. Why in the fuck are you ever dropping him into coverage? Why is he not always attacking the quarterback? This is why I wonder about Matt Patricia, Michael. He is just, I think he overthinks things a little bit, and he is not the DC that Ohio State Nation led to believe that he is. This defense can be run on, and, they give quarterbacks too much time to throw. Against most teams, this can work. But a quarterback like Mendoza, who will play in the NFL, will pick you apart. They just don't pressure the quarterback enough. And this dropping into the flat shit is this is bullshit, man. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah. That aside, I think that this could be another positive. It also could be just a big negative, and things could be going the wrong direction. But I do think it could be a positive. The reason I think that is that the Michigan game was handled do or die. There was an urgency. There was an intensity. There was a sense of purpose. This had some of that at times, but we did not come out with a do or die type of mentality in this game. And so it showed. The offensive line was beat early on. The offensive line was beat a lot of the day. At one point, they put up a graphic, 5 sacks, 7 hits, like 8 or 9 hurries. I mean, the offensive line was not keeping the pressure at bay. And it was just a subpar performance. I mean, it was a C- to a C+ performance, and Indiana played an A performance. And some of that is on the way that Ryan Day handled the game. However, that being said, I think it could be a wake-up call. I'm still glad they played this game. They needed to face an elite team, and they needed to feel that stress, and I hope they respond. I am optimistic they'll respond. I'm going to give Ryan Day the benefit of the doubt that they will respond, because he had them ready to play a do-or-die type game in Ann Arbor. I believe he's going to have them ready to play a do-or-die type game in Dallas against either a big foe out of the SEC, Texas A&M. I believe I was at the game the last time we played Texas A&M in the Sugar Bowl, 1999, or potentially, of course, the University of Miami, which would be another compelling matchup, a rematch of the 2002 national championship.
Michael,
here's a super chat, Jay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that. Go ahead and pull that up.
Yep. At John Lucas 4340. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Michigan fan here. I think you guys are fine. Every team is regressing to the mean. Teams are just not as spaced out in skill as they used to be. There has certainly, thank you so much for the super chat and the comment. There certainly has been more parity in college football in this NIL era. It's kind of strange because there's both more parity and like more division between the top and the bottom, but you do have you do have teams out there that, 5 years ago, 7 years, 8 years ago, you wouldn't think would have any chance to beat a top 10 team. But, they can. And, you've got teams out there that are rising like Indiana and others. That Indiana did what, frankly, nobody thought they could do. I think most people in the country still had brand bias against Indiana, and I still have some brand bias against Indiana. I think they're very, very good, but am I convinced they can win 2 games and get to a national championship? No, I'm not convinced of that at all, but we'll find out.
Well, they better hope that they don't face Alabama, because Alabama will be a lot healthier if they play Indiana on January 1st, and that's not something Indiana wants to see. 2 things, Michael. You kind of lent credence to the conversation we had earlier. You were saying it was hard for Ohio State to kind of get up for a second game, which kind of feeds into that narrative that Ohio State just wouldn't survive in the SEC, because if they can't play Michigan and then play Indiana and keep a similar level of play, then you are basically fueling the argument that they can't play at a high level more often, because that is unfortunately what the SEC is most week in and week out. Caleb Downs even confirmed that on his podcast from a week or so ago. It's just a different game down there. Every team is fast. Every team is aggressive. Every team is going to challenge you at your weaknesses to the utmost. And again, Ohio State physically, can they do it? Yeah. Mentally, I don't know that we can. I don't know that we can go into the SEC. We'd probably be like Alabama this year with 2 or 3 losses. Last night doesn't do anything to change my mind on that. We're not there mentally, man. We're not. I just don't know that we can get up for 2 games in a row, man. We can't. I just didn't like it. And then, to close this out with the defense, Michael, I want Indiana style of defense. I want Mark D'Antonio style of defense back. Matt Patricia could learn a thing or 2 on how to call an aggressive scheme from Indiana. He's just too passive, which explains why he wasn't Ryan Day's first choice. He wasn't. That's not a hot take. DJ Durkin was his first choice. He is an intelligent DC, but his style, like you say, is more for the NFL and not for college. And what I mean by that is, in the NFL, you can get away with running this type of scheme because most teams have explosive edge rushers or defensive tackles to create immediate pressure. He does not have that at Ohio State. So you just can't sit back there and run these complex coverage schemes, because a quarterback with all day is going to eventually find somebody open. He has got to change the way he calls games, or he just needs to get the fuck out, and we need to find a defensive coordinator who is going to attack. Or our defensive line recruiting just needs to get better. It is getting better in 2026, but these guys are not going to be ready for a year or 2. That's that. That's all. That's my case.
Incidentally, Jay, speaking of pressure, did you happen to see when I don't know which defensive end was it? I think it was Jackson. He comes off, and the Indiana tackle grabbed him and threw him to the ground before he could get to Mendoza. And there was no
see that, but it was on both sides.
Yeah.
It was on both sides.
What do you mean?
I mean, there was holding on both sides. We held them, they held us.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So I don't really put in the hands of the officials like that.
No, I don't. It was just there was definitely some holding out there not being called. And yeah, I think there was some Buckeye holds there as well. But
absolutely.
Yeah. So anyhow, but yeah, I mean, Jay, I feel great about the defense being good enough to win a national championship.
I don't. I mean, I guess I don't. I think they're good, but they're not great. I mean, they're not called great either. Special teams, Michael. Whew, oh boy. Jaden Fielding, man, is such a bitch kicker. He is a bitch fucking kicker, man. You cannot trust him in a big game. Special teams under Ryan Day continue to suck, Michael. But here's the scary part. The scary part is, this is not a surprise to me, to you, or to all of you listening. It is not a surprise. But the scary part is, that Ryan Day doesn't know this. And he continues to trot this fucking bitch out there like he can be depended on in a close game like this. Yeah, he kicked that kick in the national championship game, but we were up by 8. And even if Notre Dame would have got the ball back, deep into our territory there, I don't think they would have gone down and scored and got a 2-point conversion. The real pressure kicks that we really need, and like we really, really, really need it, he cannot be depended on. And we said this in week 1. We're like, we don't have a kicker again. You can't rely on him. And yeah, but Ryan Day thinks otherwise, which is really scary.
Do you fault Ryan Day on that first 4th and 1, going for it as opposed to taking the 3 points? You assume it was a relatively similar kick, 20 something yards. But do you fault him for that, or do you think going for it there was appropriate?
I'm trying to remember even the play call, man.
It was the quarterback sneak.
That was the first one?
Yeah, and here's the thing. If you were going to do a quarterback sneak, the second one was set up for that. It was 4th at about a half a yard. The first one was a solid full yard. So, I didn't love the play call on a full yard to go, considering we haven't seen Julian Sayin be like a sneak master or anything.
Yeah. Well, we can't do that with him anymore. You either put Lincoln Kienholz back there, but the problem is you put Lincoln Kienholz in the game under center, the sneak is coming. I don't know. Maybe you give Donaldson I don't mind ever going for it on 4th and 1, but you better have a good play call and utilize your players' strengths and not play to their weaknesses. And that's kind of what Ryan Day did. Anything else to add about Jaden Fielding?
No, he's just a disappointing kicker. I mean, that's just the bottom line. He's lost. He's had a hand. He's directly lost one game last year in Michigan, and he's had a hand, obviously, in losing the Big Ten championship last night to Indiana.
Last thing I'll say about this game, because I guess a couple things. Indiana was a little better on the lines, Michael. Ryan Day's teams are built from the outside in, not the inside out, and it cost him here because Ryan Day tries to be Michigan 2023 when he doesn't have the personnel. He's recruited the personnel to be like, Texas Tech Patrick Mahomes, but he doesn't do that. Defensive line, like I said, recruiting was, really good in 2026, but offensive line recruiting this class, man, where we struggled the most in this game was utterly abysmal. Tyler Bowen was a garbage, worthless hire. He can't even coach for shit. He can't even coach for shit because they don't block very well under him. And by the way, Michael, one thing I want to point out. Remember when people said Ryan Day would play at a faster pace in a big game?
Yeah.
The offense has been the same way all fucking season. Yep. It's slow. It's boring. It's not creative. They were really limited by some really bad fucking defenses like Washington, like Illinois. They have been a disappointment. And I've said it. I was wondering, is our offense not very good? After last night, it looks like they're not very good. The worst thing I fear is Ryan Day had a roster last season too big to fail. I'm not sure he has that this year, Michael, after being exposed in this game. The guy is awful in big games that are close. He has to blow the other team out, obviously, or get a big lead. If the game is close, he's probably going to pucker. A lot of blame at Ryan Day, rightfully so, but Matt Patricia got exposed for being a soft bitch-ass coordinator last night. I am not mixing my words. I hated the game plan. His soft scheme really let Indiana convert too many key downs. And last thing I'm going to say, I don't see how Ohio State can win a title with an offense that's this bad. I don't see how we do it. They've been shut down, like I said, by some bad defenses. And everyone has said load management. Well, it's the same thing here. Offense is just very average. Nothing has changed over the course of the season. I am very, very, very fucking concerned here.
I'll get to that here in just a second, Jay. We've got 30 of you guys here. We've got 11 thumbs up, it looks like, on the video. If you would hit that thumbs up if you're in the chat, that would be appreciated. Let's see a couple of comments here. Figure out the red zone issues. Utilize Keenholz if we have to. I would have liked to have seen Keenholz maybe in a red zone package. Get it out there, get it on tape in a big game. Give Keenholz a chance in a big game that's not do or die. That's a little bit gutsy. I get it, but I would have liked to see it. If you're going to do it at all, do it in the Big Ten championship, because if you're not going to do it there, I doubt you're going to do it in the semifinals or the quarterfinals or the national championship itself. But Jay, I think that when we look back a year ago, following the Michigan game, we thought, who can this team beat? With what we just saw, who can they beat? I wasn't convinced they could beat the Tennessee Volunteers based on what I had just seen. They changed, they got with it. They started calling to their strengths. Was that only a Chip Kelly thing? I don't know. We're about to find out. But what I do know is this team is capable of getting points on the board. They are capable of moving the ball downfield. And I am confident of this. The defense they just played, as unacceptable as that game plan was, I do believe Indiana's defense is absolutely better than Texas A&M's. And I haven't watched Miami enough to know, but I would venture to say Indiana's defense is probably better than Miami's too. But I have seen Texas A&M on a few different occasions this year, and I absolutely believe that Indiana's defense is better than what they would see if they get that Texas A&M matchup.
I know how you speak a lot like you're just assuming Texas A&M is going to win. I don't know that they are. I mean, Miami's a really good team too, and they barely got in at the skin of their teeth, man. But I will say this: I'm glad they got in over Notre Dame. I think the committee got that right. The games do have to matter, and I don't know that Alabama deserved to be in after losing 28-7, but again, they did beat Georgia already on the road. But you kind of have to factor in they got blown out by Florida State too. And Miami blew out Florida State. So I don't know. I don't know. But again, when it came down to Notre Dame and Miami, they made the right choice. Notre Dame, they're just kind of like snobby fucks, and they got what they deserved. So I will not cry a tear over them. I'm glad they didn't make it. They didn't beat anyone besides USC, unfortunately. So fuck them forever and always. I will continue to say that. But, one thing our bowl location sucks, man. I know you mentioned the Cotton Bowl, but like I said, I hope Miami wins that game. So it's at least a true neutral site game, but it is going to be hard for them to win on the road at Texas A&M. But Michael, why isn't Indianapolis included more often in these neutral site games? Detroit, like Cleveland's indoor stadium, by the way, needs to get built sooner than later. The Midwest is just getting fucked so fucking hard when it comes to these games. It's like Atlanta, California, Phoenix. It's like Miami. It's always in the South. How is that fucking fair? You're in a 12-team playoff now. Traditional bowls are out the fucking window. You should just don't call it a bowl game. Just be like the college football playoff at Indianapolis or at Detroit. You have three indoor stadiums, including Minneapolis, which is out there. Why are we getting the short end of the stick here? This is blasphemy, man.
I agree, but it's going to be this way as long as they continue to incorporate these bowls as part of the playoff system, and that being the Big Six, the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. As long as those bowls are being included, in the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of SEC friendly venues.
Well, Dr. Detroit said, the same reason you don't have Super Bowls up north. I'm assuming it's the weather. I mean, it's indoors and,
There's been a Super Bowl in Minneapolis recently. I think
they had one didn't they have one in New York and it was outside? What was that, like 10 years ago?
I don't remember that.
They had one that was up north. It was like 10, 12 years ago. I don't remember. But they did have one outside. Not just up north, but outside up north. And I forget when it was, but it was in the 21st century.
I do remember. I think it was maybe 2019. They had it in Minneapolis. Somewhere thereabouts.
I don't think so. I think it was I don't know. It was on the East Coast. It wasn't. They've had Super Bowls in Detroit. They've had them. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in Minneapolis. Those are indoor. But I'm saying they had them up north and on the outside. So I don't know, man. This is. I don't know. I'm looking at this bracket, man. What's different to me with
2018. Sorry, that's when it was in Minneapolis.
Yeah, but there was one that was outside. I mean, honestly, dude, what I'm gonna have to look this up now because you have me last Super Bowl played in the cold outside. What was that? Yeah, Super Bowl 2014 MetLife Stadium.
Really?
Yes. I knew it. I told you I knew.
Interesting.
Yeah. 40, but it was a mild 49 degrees.
Well, but you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I told you. So again, something needs to change. If they expand the playoffs, which by the way, it looks like it's going to happen. I saw something that came out today that if you're in the top 12, you're automatically an automatic berth starting next year. Does that mean they're expanding the playoffs next year, or they're just changing the rules for 12 teams?
I believe they're just changing the rules.
Okay. Then how do those automatic teams?
I think they're doing away with the 5th conference champion next year. Like the highest rated 5th conference champion gets an automatic bid. The way that you've got what is it? James Madison playing Oregon or something?
Yeah, man, the ACC, dude, they rose from the dead because I was thinking Miami wasn't going to get in. FanDuel predicted the first round playoff games like 30 minutes before the selection show, and they got it wrong. They predicted Oklahoma and Notre Dame in the first round with Miami out, but Miami ended up being in and saved the ACC because Duke ended up winning the ACC, which took away a spot from them.
I think that ultimately Notre Dame being left out a team that did have a little danger to it. They were playing very well down the stretch, and so
they were.
Yeah, I'm just assume them be left out. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I have a lot of angst. I'm looking at our playoff bracket, man. It's going to be harder than it was last year because, Tennessee is a worse team than Miami and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And the talent composite and all that. And then the next round, we could potentially play Georgia. But I will say this. Don't sleep on Ole Miss beating Georgia. I don't think that we could beat Georgia, but Ole Miss might because, number one, Ole Miss was, playing with Georgia the first time. Georgia was definitely better than them, but it was in Athens. This time it's a neutral site game. Ole Miss essentially has a scrimmage against Tulane in game 1. So I would say that Ole Miss definitely has a fighter's chance in that game. It's hard to beat a good team twice in a season. You could potentially play Georgia in round 2. That's, Texas A&M, Georgia, that's like composite top 8 teams right there in the 247 composite. That's a lot to deal with. And then the championship game, I don't know who we would play, but, don't know.
Yeah.
It's a harder path.
Definitely be a hard path, but I am excited to see what they can do against either the Hurricanes or the Aggies. I'm optimistic, Jay, they can bounce back, come up with a much better plan of attack going forward for that first round of the playoffs. Because as we just discussed for the last hour, that was pretty ugly, pretty frustrating, pretty easy to get down and wonder, oh boy, how can we possibly beat a good team after what we just saw? Well, fortunately, a new day is a new day. Every game is different. Games can be drastically different from one to the next. And, we just have to hope they get it figured out.
I told my wife, because we've been planning my son's my baby boy's first birthday party, and I was like, we probably should put it on a day where there's no college football, right? For obvious reasons. Well, he was born on December 31st of 2024, and we decided to have his birthday party on December 31st, 2024. So it's like a part of me, it's like, I want to enjoy my son's birthday, but in the back of my mind, I'm going to be like freaking out that our season is going to end. And this is just bad. It's just bad. Maybe in the future, I just need to plan it after these games, man. I don't know. I have to try and find a way to relax on that day.
Well, when are we coming back, Jay? What's the schedule look like here moving forward?
I think we need to I think we definitely need to actually go down and do an episode on our recruiting class. We haven't really done that in full. I think we probably want to do that. I don't know, probably midweek, maybe Wednesday, and just do a recruiting show, and just recap the class and our thoughts on every position group.
Last thing I'll say, Jay, Ryan Day has done pretty well historically when he has lots of time to prepare. And he does have that time to prepare. So that's why I at least feel pretty good going into the matchup against either A&M or Miami. Hopefully he's getting something figured out. I'd say he's probably looking at both of them. Once we find out who the opponent will be, obviously they're going to be drilling down on how to attack whoever that is.
Man, I thought our offense would explode in an indoor stadium, and they performed the worst they did all season. So I don't know that indoors or outdoors is a thing. Yeah, we're going to be indoors in Dallas, but we were indoors in Indianapolis and it didn't help. So I don't know. Right. I mean, it's really all going to depend on the lines and if Julian Sayin has time to throw, and they're not in fucking tight formation and they're actually spreading the defense out. You'll know right away if we're going to win or not. I feel like if Ohio State comes out aggressive and they're in a spread formation, you got to feel good. If they're running tight and they're playing with a slow pace, they're probably going to lose. That's it.
Yep. Don't bring the game into a phone booth with 2 and 3 tight ends when you've got the type of weapons that we have and the quarterback who does have the ability to get it to him as long as you give him time. All right. Well, we're out of here, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all the likes and subscribes, and we will see you hopefully.
Please like, subscribe, share. Please like, subscribe, share. I know we had a lot of people listening, but please make sure you get this out there because I feel like it really needs to be heard in Ohio State land, this show.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon.